November 17, 1973. The dimly lit community center on Minneapolis's north side was filled with the nervous energy and excited chatter of nearly 300 people who had gathered for what was being billed as the city's most prestigious annual talent competition, an event that had launched several local performers into regional fame and had become the proving ground where Minneapolis's most promising young artists came to test their abilities against the best talent the Twin Cities had to offer. The competition drew participants ranging from seasoned adult performers with years of experience to ambitious teenagers hoping to catch the attention of talent scouts and music industry professionals who were known to attend the event looking for the next breakthrough artist. But what none of the confident performers, experienced judges, or expectant audience members could have predicted was that the evening's most shocking and transformative moment would come not from one of the established favorites or polished acts, but from a scrawny, soft-spoken 15-year-old named Prince Rogers Nelson, who looked so young and inexperienced that several audience members actually laughed when he walked onto the stage carrying his battered acoustic guitar, his slight frame dwarfed by the instrument and his nervous demeanor suggesting that he might be in over his head competing against much older. The laughter that rippled through the community center when Prince approached the microphone was not malicious, but it reflected the audience's assumption that this shy teenager was about to deliver an amateur performance that would serve as comic relief before the serious competition resumed with more credible contestants. What happened over the next 3 minutes would not only silence every skeptic in that community center but create one of the most legendary performances in Minneapolis music history, as Prince Rogers Nelson proved that true musical genius recognizes no boundaries of age or experience, and that sometimes the most powerful artist in the room is the one nobody expects to possess the kind of raw talent that can transform doubt into amazement and laughter into a thunderous standing ovation. If you want to discover the moments when Prince proved that musical genius has nothing to do with age or expectations and everything to do with the raw power of authentic artistry, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. What you're about to witness shows that the greatest breakthroughs often come from the most unexpected sources, and that true talent cannot be hidden, no matter how young or unlikely the artist might appear. The Minneapolis Talent Competition of 1973 had been established 6 years earlier as a community initiative designed to showcase local musical talent and provide opportunities for emerging artists to gain exposure. The event had grown steadily in reputation and attendance, drawing participants from across the Twin Cities and establishing itself as one of the most respected talent showcases in the Upper Midwest. The competition format was straightforward but demanding. Each performer had a maximum of 5 minutes to demonstrate their abilities in front of 3 judges, including a local radio DJ, a music store owner with record label connections, and a professional musician. The audience vote also played a significant role in determining winners, creating an environment where performers needed to connect with both industry professionals and regular music fans. Prince's decision to enter the competition had been encouraged by his friend Andre Anderson, whose mother Bernadette had been supporting Prince during a difficult period with his father. Bernadette had noticed Prince's exceptional musical abilities during hours he spent at their house playing guitar, piano, and writing songs, and she had convinced him that the talent competition would provide an excellent opportunity to test his abilities against other young performers. However, Prince had been reluctant to perform publicly, partly due to his natural shyness, and partly because his musical style was quite different from the mainstream pop and rock music that typically dominated local talent competitions. Prince's compositions incorporated elements of funk, rock, and R&B in ways that were innovative but potentially unfamiliar to audiences accustomed to more conventional approaches. The evening of the competition, Prince had arrived at the community center with his acoustic guitar and a few handwritten songs, dressed in clothes that were clean but clearly not expensive, reflecting the financial struggles that had characterized much of his young life. At 15, Prince was small for his age and had a quiet demeanor that made him seem even younger, particularly when compared to other competitors who were older and carried themselves with the confidence of previous performance experience. As Prince waited backstage for his turn to perform, he could hear other contestants delivering polished versions of popular songs and original compositions that demonstrated solid technical skills and stage presence. The competition was clearly fierce, with several performers receiving enthusiastic applause and positive responses from the judges. When Prince's name was called and he walked onto the stage, the immediate reaction from the audience was a mixture of surprise and barely suppressed amusement. His slight build and youthful appearance created an obvious contrast with the more mature performers who had preceded him, and his nervous body language suggested that he might not have the confidence or experience necessary to deliver a memorable performance. The laughter that began in the back rows of the community center was not mean-spirited, but it reflected the audience's assumption that they were about to witness an amateur performance that would serve as a brief interlude before the competition resumed with more serious contenders. Several audience members whispered comments about how young Prince looked and questioned whether someone his age could possibly compete effectively against older performers. As Prince adjusted the microphone and prepared to begin his performance, the murmur of conversation and suppressed laughter continued throughout the audience, creating an atmosphere that could have been intimidating for even an experienced performer. However, Prince appeared to be focusing entirely on his guitar, tuning the strings and preparing to play with the kind of concentrated attention that suggested he was blocking out everything except the music he was about to create. Before we reveal what Prince did with his acoustic guitar that transformed laughter into stunned silence and ultimately led to one of the most memorable standing ovations in Minneapolis music history, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where people underestimated your abilities based on your age or appearance? How did you prove them wrong when given the chance to show what you could really do? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Before we reveal what Prince did with his acoustic guitar that transformed laughter into stunned silence and ultimately led to one of the most memorable standing ovations in Minneapolis music history, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where people underestimated your abilities based on your age or appearance? How did you prove them wrong when given the chance to show what you could really do? Share your thoughts in the comments below. When Prince finally began to play, the change in the community center's atmosphere was immediate and dramatic. The opening chords revealed a level of technical skill and musical sophistication that none of the audience members had anticipated, while his voice, when he began to sing, carried an emotional depth and maturity that seemed impossible for someone who had only recently become a teenager. The song Prince had chosen to perform was an original composition called So Blue, a deeply personal piece that drew from his experiences with family instability, social isolation, and emotional challenges that had shaped his adolescence. The lyrics were poetic and introspective, dealing with themes of loneliness and resilience that resonated with universal human experiences while maintaining authenticity. But what truly shocked the audience was not just the quality of Prince's songwriting or vocal ability, but the way he played guitar. His technique incorporated elements that most of the audience had never heard from a performer so young, including complex finger-picking patterns, innovative chord progressions, and a rhythmic approach that suggested deep familiarity with multiple musical genres, including blues, folk, and early funk music. The laughter and conversation that had characterized the audience's initial reaction stopped completely within the first 30 seconds of his performance, replaced by an attentive silence that indicated genuine engagement and growing amazement. The judges, who had been shuffling papers and preparing notes, stopped their activities and focused entirely on Prince's performance, with expressions of obvious surprise and interest. As Prince continued to play, his initial nervousness disappeared completely, replaced by the kind of confidence and stage presence that comes naturally to performers who are completely connected to their material. His voice gained strength and expressiveness as the song progressed, while his guitar playing became increasingly complex and emotionally powerful, demonstrating a level of musical maturity that challenged every assumption the audience had made about young performers. The most remarkable aspect of Prince's performance was not just his technical ability or songwriting talent, but the way he created an intimate emotional connection with an audience that had been prepared to dismiss him based on his age and appearance. By the time he reached the song's climactic final verse, Prince had transformed the community center from a space filled with skeptical observers into a room full of people who were genuinely moved by what they were experiencing. When Prince played the final chord of So Blue and looked up at the audience for the first time since beginning his performance, the silence that followed was profound and lasted for several seconds as the 300 people processed what they had just heard. The quality of the performance had so thoroughly exceeded their expectations that many audience members seemed uncertain how to respond. The applause that finally erupted was unlike anything that had been heard that evening, starting as a few scattered claps but quickly building into sustained, enthusiastic applause. Within seconds, people throughout the community center began standing, creating a wave of recognition that spread from the front rows to the back as the entire audience rose to their feet in acknowledgement of what they had witnessed. The standing ovation continued for nearly 3 minutes, with many audience members cheering and calling out expressions of amazement. Several people were visibly emotional, moved by the combination of Prince's musical ability and the realization that they had misjudged him so completely based on his age and appearance. Now I want to ask you something that might change how you think about talent and potential. When have you witnessed someone demonstrate abilities that completely exceeded what you thought was possible based on their background or experience? The most inspiring part of this story is about to unfold. The judges' reaction to Prince's performance was as dramatic as the audience response, with all 3 panel members conferring immediately after the applause died down and expressing their amazement at what they had witnessed. The radio DJ later described Prince's performance as the most surprising and impressive display of musical talent he had encountered in 6 years of judging the competition. Prince's victory in the competition was decisive, with both the judges' scores and the audience vote reflecting the overwhelming impact of his performance. However, the real significance of that November evening extended far beyond the competition itself, as word of Prince's remarkable performance spread quickly through Minneapolis's music community and began attracting attention from industry professionals. Within weeks of the competition, Prince had been contacted by local musicians who wanted to collaborate with him, music teachers who offered advanced instruction, and some regional music industry representatives who were interested in exploring recording contracts. The performance had served as Prince's introduction to the Minneapolis music scene and established his reputation as a serious artist. More importantly, the experience of winning over an initially skeptical audience through the power of his musical ability gave Prince the confidence and validation he needed to pursue music as more than just a personal interest. The standing ovation represented the first time that Prince had received large-scale public recognition for his artistic abilities, and the experience helped convince him that he had the potential to build a career in music. The 1973 talent competition became legendary within Minneapolis music circles, with many people who attended that evening later claiming that they had witnessed the moment when one of Minnesota's greatest musical exports first demonstrated his exceptional abilities to a public audience. Today, the community center performance is remembered as a pivotal moment in Prince's artistic development and as a powerful example of how true talent can overcome any preconceptions or limitations that others might try to impose based on age, appearance, or expectations. The evening demonstrated that musical genius cannot be hidden, and that authentic artistry has the power to transform doubt into admiration and skepticism into respect. The lesson from that November evening remains relevant for anyone who has ever been underestimated or faced doubt about their abilities. The most powerful response to skepticism is not argument or explanation, but demonstration of excellence that speaks louder than any words or assumptions. Prince's 3-minute performance proved that when true talent is given the opportunity to shine, it can change minds, hearts, and entire rooms full of people in ways that last a lifetime. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of Prince's earliest demonstrations of the extraordinary musical gifts that would eventually change popular music forever. If this story inspired you to believe in the power of talent over expectations and to never let assumptions limit what you believe you can achieve, please subscribe and share your own experiences of proving doubters wrong through excellence and determination in the comments below.